Hello everyone and welcome to Tabletop Tea Time. This is the monthly board game show where I invite creators on to join me. And over the next few months we're going to be talking about different weighted games. We're going to start this month with gateway games, then we're going to jump on to the middleweight stuff, and in a couple of months time it will be the heavy games. So obviously keep coming back for more, but let's see what some creators have picked as their gateway game picks.
Hi, I'm Barb, Maple PhD, and we're talking all about games for beginner gamers. I, of course, like to kind of tune what games I suggest to players based on their interests and what I think they might like. But knowing nothing else, I have two kind of go-tos, Cat Lady and Spots, depending on whether the person likes cats or dogs. In Cat Lady, this is a fairly simple drafting type of game, but has a lot of different scoring in it. So on each turn, you're going to have a grid of 9 cards, and the player is going to take 3 of them and put in front of them. This can be things like cats, which you want to make happy by feeding them, and so other cards will show food. You also want toys for your cats and costumes. Now, there is a lot to the scoring, but it ends up being kind of intuitive where you want your cats, but you have to make them happy by feeding them. So you have to make sure to have the right food for all of the cats that you've taken. You also want to keep your cats happy by having them play with stuff. And so you want lots of different toys. And so that's where I love Cat Lady. It kind of comes together in this intuitive package where you have cats and you want to make them happy. With Spots, this one is a little dice game, kind of push your luck kind of dice game, where on each turn you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to pick one of the tricks that's in the middle of the table and follow whatever it says, or you're going to complete dogs. So you have these dog cards in front of you, but some of their spots are missing, and the way you're going to fill them in is through dice. And so the tricks, most of them are, take X number of dice and roll them. You have to place some of them, and you might get away with not placing some of them. But the main rule of the game is when you roll dice, you have to place all of the ones that it says to place on the dogs in your play area. And if you can't, you have to bury them. If you ever have to bury and you have more than 7 pips, I think it is, that are buried, you bust. And at that point, you lose all of the dice on your active dogs and the ones in your dog house. The other thing you can do on a turn is you can complete any dogs if they have all of the dice placed on them. You spend the whole turn, turn them over to their other side so you don't see the holes where the dice need to go, and then take replacement dogs. And the first person to complete 6 dogs will win the game. Now, one of the really fun parts of this game, though, is if you ever complete all of your active dogs, you instantly score them, so you don't have to waste a whole turn. And that's where that really push your luck comes in, where do I spend a whole turn trying to finish this dog, or do I push my luck a little bit and hope that I can finish it all on one turn? And so those are my favorites for new players, especially if I don't know anything else about what they might or might not like. I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone else has to say. But in the meantime, you can go follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky, and I've got a YouTube channel where I talk about astronomy and board games. Otherwise, I will see you next time.
Hey everybody, I'm Evan, and today I'm going to show you a game that you have probably never heard of. Maybe you have. So today, if we're talking about gateway games, I think there are 4 principles that make a great gateway game. The first one is easy to understand rules, something that can be easily explained and super easy to pick up on and kind of just start playing and not go through a 20-page rule book trying to explain what you're supposed to do in this game. The next is familiar game concepts, things that maybe other people have seen in other like mass market games, that sort of thing. An approachable theme. So if you're picking a theme that's crazy or off-putting, it's usually not going to go over very well. And the last one is intriguing art or components to draw people in. Maybe you're showing them something they've never quite seen before, and when you put it on the table, they're going to want to dive in. So, games I cover on this series don't always necessarily fall into any of these categories. A lot of times the themes are unusual. The mechanics in the gameplay might be a little strange or not the sort of thing that someone's used to. But I think I may have found one that fits most of these anyway. And this is a game called Animals Gathering. This is a game from Wonderful World Board Gaming, a company that I really like that makes a good number of family-friendly type games. So let's go down to the table and I'll show you what it's all about. So this is what you will get inside the box of Animals Gathering. You get a decent-sized stack of these sorts of animal cards that have different animals represented on them with powers. You get these mage cards, which you give to one to each player, and that shows you the distribution of the dice. Has an extra sort of power on it, and determines turn order based on the number. You get these really cool, chunky wooden dice that have all these different shapes on it. There's a deck of spells, which is optional to use if you want even more powers added to the game. But the star of the show is this box of these shaped pieces. It has a nice insert that, as long as you store it horizontally, they stay in the box. But each one of these corresponds to the shapes on the cards. You will start with a card in front of you, and basically you are just trying to fill in the card. And when that happens, you also get a power. I will mention that all of the powers are broken down very well in the rule book. I'm not going to go over all of those, but they involve either scoring or rolling more dice or taking more shapes, that sort of thing. So on your turn, you have two possible actions. You can either take one of these cards, put it in front of you, or you can roll the dice. And how that works is you roll the number of dice subtracted from the number of uncompleted cards you have in front of you. So if you just have one, you will roll 5 dice. Like I said earlier, the breakdown is on these cards, these player cards. So you're going to want to try to roll dice with symbols that you have on your card. So you'd roll the dice, and then you use whichever dice to take the shapes and fill them in on your card. So every shape that you can't use, every other player at the table has the option to take those shapes and add them to their cards. So it's fun because everyone is engaged on everyone's turn. You're hoping that they roll shapes they can't use, and then ones that you can use so you can take them. And that's kind of the whole game. You go in turn order until someone has 5 completed cards in front of them. And I think these cards are just great. They're supposed to represent these animals. I mean, they're kind of, a little bit abstract, but they're still super fun. And these pieces are super fun. And I think this is a super fun family sort of game to play. Very simple, very easy to learn. So let's go back up to the top and I'll tell you what I think about it. So there you have it. That's Animals Gathering. I think it fits most of the criteria for a gateway game pretty good. The rules are pretty simple, especially if you want to take out some of the special powers, either on the animals that you complete, or the character powers, or just don't use the spells. But the rule book explains them pretty well, and I don't think they're too hard to understand. So I think that might work. Familiar game concepts, maybe, because there's dice rolling. Everybody understands rolling a die and then taking whatever it shows. That's simple enough, right? And then there's a little bit of that puzzle element where you're using these pieces to complete a puzzle on your card. As far as approachable theme, maybe, because you're a wizard, I don't know, summoning animals. The theme's a little give or take. But as far as intriguing art and components, well then this exceeds, because with those little 10-gram pieces, they look great. And then once you've completed your little animal on the card, it looks fantastic, and you really kind of get that sense of accomplishment. So Animals Gathering is a game that I highly recommend. So the next question is, where can I find a copy? Well, I believe it is in print. There is a new version available, or at least it has a new cover. Put that right here. And it seems to be distributed by Asmodee. A Wonderful World is a company out of Taiwan, but I think their games are pretty generally easy to get. I think, like I said, I think there was some on Amazon if you check. Otherwise, I think there are some other sources to find this game. So, yeah. That wraps it up for this week. Thanks for joining me on yet another Tea Time, and we'll see you next month, everybody.
For me, a gateway game is good for two reasons. It's primarily there as a gateway game, a great one to get someone into the hobby. And for those sorts of games, I want it to be an easy game, very little setup so I can get the game to the table, teach the rules really rapidly, and just get everyone involved straight away. Because I think there are caveats with certain games that take long to set up, and well, that's going to be a little bit off-putting for a brand new player. So for me, one game that works really well as a gateway game, but I still keep coming back to it, has to be there on the shelf, Carcassonne. Now, I wouldn't actually advise you going for the big box that I've got on the shelf as the gateway game. It's got many expansions in it, and those add complexity, add time to the teach, to the general play. So just the basic version of Carcassonne. That's all you need. Start by placing those tiles out. You can very easily show in just a few tiles placed how pretty much the entirety of the game works. You can place some roads down and show, the roads need to continue, the cities need to continue, the fields need to continue, so people can straight away understand that tile placement, and that's, well, 80% of the game. Then you just quickly go over how the things score and you can start playing. For me, it ticks a lot of boxes. Not only is it replayable and you're building something out, this thing on the table, so it starts really small, but by the end it looks pretty epic. I certainly think the map on the table does look epic at the end of a game of Carcassonne, but I also think that by not having like that setup time that long to teach it, people can just start playing and enjoy it. However, there is another part of a gateway experience and a gateway game that I think we often miss, and those are dexterity-based games often. Something where someone looks at a shelf like this and they're still surprised that there is a game like that. I've spoken quite a bit before about Pitch Car or Ice Cool, but another great example that I think works brilliantly for with families or introducing new players to the hobby is Junkart. In Junkart you play numerous rounds, and each of them the scoring is slightly different, what you're doing is slightly different, but primarily you're balancing these odd funky shapes of different colours on top of each other in a central stack, on your own little stack. You're telling, I'm playing this orange pole card on you, you have to find that from the middle and add that to your structure. And it's one of those experiences that I don't think people expect when you say, let's play a board game. So I think dexterity can catch people out and go, I didn't think a board game could be like that. And it could be their gateway to go, well, I'd kind of written them all off as Monopoly or one of those old school games. And they go, oh, it can be insanely different. So what about the rest of those games? But you get the idea. You can use different types of games almost on different people to get them into the hobby. Both Junkart and Carcassonne, though, are games I am happy to go back to, and sometimes you do want that gateway game, not necessarily to introduce a new player to, but for a lighter evening when you're like, let's play a game, but I don't want anything too brain-burning. And I think that's what's great about a gateway game, is if it's good enough, you can keep coming back to it, even if you've played the heaviest of the heavy games. Often, they're still good fun, and that's what I like about them. But let us know in the comments section below which of the games that we've spoken about today, which one is, well, the coolest to you, which one, however, did we miss off? What would your gateway game of choice be? Let us know in the comment section down below. And while you're going down, please like, subscribe and all that sort of jazz, but check the description out because I'll put the links to the other creators who joined me on today's show so you can go and check out their channels and subscribe there as well. Anyway, until next time, have a fantastic month gaming.